most of my other videos that I've been showing off my hover vessels, I've got them all out on the ground and got them nice and displayed out there. But there's two reasons for me to start in the hangar here. Not because I'm trying to really show off the Thunder Naiad, which is the Thunder Naiad is kind of taking up our whole view here from where I am. Because rather, I was a little shocked when I was able to get all of the hover vessels for Dragonfly Industries onto the Star Cruiser hover vessel hangar in one go. I was like, I pulled the Thunder Naiad all the way forward beyond what's marked here, and then got everything else in. I was like, oh my, it fit. Now the other thing, I had a little entertainment here. That one there, for a moment, I forgot that it does not have a docking pad underneath. That is intentional because it is meant for the mini Nymph is meant for being used inside an alien POI, a point of interest. It may not fit through all corners, but that's quite often. Usually I only have to use the Gatling guns, blast out one, maybe two blocks, and then I'm able to make the corners where the corners in the hallways might be too small, too sharp. But a lot of corridors, it actually can get through, blast out the door. It can fit through the opening of the door, and then navigate through most of a base. So it's been a very useful hover vessel for me. So, well, I don't intend to actually show these all off inside here. Let's go move the mini Nymph out of the way, turn it on here, and get it out of the way. But since I forgot that it didn't have a docking pad underneath, it was entertaining when I went to take off with my vessel. It says, "You've got a vehicle in the Star Cruiser that is not docked." And I was like, "Really?" I did. And then I remembered, oh yeah, the mini Nymph. It does not have a docking pad underneath. It is in the back. Among other things, this also is really helpful having the dock pad on there, not only for fitting into the base, but once I've destroyed the core, then I'm not getting constantly stuck with the it trying to dock on the stuff. I only have an issue with it trying to dock while I'm moving through the base. If I back up into something or the back end, hits a wall. So that's now this is actually a blueprint. Never made it to the workshop, and never will at this time. The stuff I'm just including this in here in part to show that as I go through and build these things, my concepts and ideas do change. Originally, I was thinking this would be the miner for Dragonfly Industries. Very cheap, just a little bit more than the ever popular Ladybug. But when I asked myself, honestly, would I use something with an open cockpit like this that really doesn't work in hostile environments as well? You'd have to customize your suit, your armor to handle whatever you're dealing with, cold, hot, that stuff. I was like, realistically, no, I probably wouldn't use this. I have an alternative in one of my other collections, a very cheap and inexpensive miner like this. So I was like, no, I'm probably not really going to use it. So when I was looking at creating another miner vessel, something that I thought actually would fit in with Dragonfly Industries a bit better, that, which I was going to call the Thorax, ended up being replaced with this, which I am also calling the Thorax because it totally replaces it. Let's get this out of here so you can get a better look at this thing. We have our two cockpits, one direction here. This is basically your standard steel construction, only iron, copper, and silicon. This is not hardened steel. This is not really combat tough. There is a purpose for those turrets though, and those miniguns on the other side. This, while quite capable as serving as a mining vehicle for gathering resources, if we were to, I have another video on YouTube where I did a short clip of me using this as a demonstration and test run. Okay, let's see. I need to. Okay. Okay, advantage of having doors on each side. If something doesn't quite work out, try the other one. Okay. This thorax here, yeah, kind of a not very fancy front end here, but part of my issue was trying to preserve the oxygen here, and I also didn't want to get too far forward with the drills. Let them do the mining, the tunneling and stuff. I have used this to tunnel to on more than one occasions in testing here. I have tunneled with this thing up to the basement of a drone base and a couple other points of interest, and so I drill up to the basement. Well, it is possible that now that I've drilled up to it and made myself a nice tunnel, I could go back, get something like the mini Nymph, which with its 4 Gatling guns, would take a little bit, but should be able to punch through the basement and get me alternative access. But what I did here instead is I gave it the other side with the other cockpit, turn around, turn this thing around in the tunnel, and it with 6 Gatling guns, I can use it to punch a hole in the basement of a point of interest. The reason then for the turrets is because since I'm punching a hole in the basement, I may not be able to control what falls into the tunnel with me. So although the thing is not tough, I'm not going to try to traditionally attack a point of interest with this thing. In the case of my non-traditional attack, I have some defensive turrets on there, so that when I accidentally introduce something to my tunnel, that the vessel itself can do a little mop-up cleanup of the incident. Also, this spot right here, even though right currently it is a minigun turret, and I wanted to keep the unlock level down to level 10 on this thing, this space should be sufficient that if you wish, replace it with a multi-turret to an alternative way to clear those blocks and gain access to a point of interest. So it's that is the Thorax, which when I get around to finishing it, doing all the texture work and painting on it, this will be the mining vessel for Dragonfly Industries. Okay. Now we have some other vessels in here. Feeling like I parked so far away, but I wanted to get them out there. So, okay, let's grab here the. This one is completed and on the workshop. Some of the others here, like the mini Nymph. This the mini Nymph, and this is the Nymph. Part of the reason I built the Nymph in the first place was I was going out there and trying to hunt for one of the objectives. Hunt the various animals out there. And while I was going out there with initially with a point defense type vessel, the turrets, yes, I could tell them the option to shoot at predators, but when it came to prey, having to get into the gain direct control of the turret and that stuff, it was I found it much easier to do my hunting objectives with the Nymph. 6 Gatling guns here, drop something as fast as I can. Even some of the bigger creatures. So this, I really built this to go hunting and stuff, but it is also built to just the starting materials, so it can serve as a starting HV. Okay. So let's go back here. We have 2 more in here. We have the Naiad and the Thunder Naiad. I've actually early into the conception of when I actually started scoping out Dragonfly Industries as an actual collection unto itself, I decided that it needed, of course, some vessels for point of interest assault. So we had I came up with 2 of them here. The Naiad, which is a little different than my original concept drawing, but for the most part fairly true to it on the outside, although the inside was influenced by a challenge I participated in, so that I have now the passenger seats, armor stations for each one of them, sufficient cargo boxes, stuff. We even have an extra armor station up here, stuff. So it was really inspired by that challenge. Again, since things have changed, so things are a little tougher, I did end up moving the forward cockpit back a little bit to add some glass for just that extra little layer for whatever it may be worth. Although it does have those turrets a bit more forward that may draw some fire. But the challenge I ended up participating was to build a hover vessel. You had to have, or hover tank. The hover tank had to have for each seat in the vessel, a armor station, cargo box, and refrigerator. So even each pilot seat ends up with its own cargo box and stuff, and armor station. So there is sufficient. There's 2 cockpits up here, and if we take a quick peek up here, we can see a lot of the internals and stuff. I ended up using these piping here, yes, for create some, the work of some of the internals, like these are the piping of the vessel stuff, but they're really placed around here in such a way to contain explosions, but using the pipes because they weigh less. I was trying to keep the weight down as this thing was getting heavy. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's back this hover vessel out of here. And this is my biggest hover tank. Now, as you can see, I do not have the hardened, the double glass technique that I've started employing with, and really having to consider in some of my hover vessels. Stuff. At the time I built this, this probably would have been more than sufficient. I'll probably go for some test runs with it. The issue I have is those turrets are not that far forward from this, so the cockpits may still be taking a lot of fire here. But again, this has a more protected cockpit back here, and stuff, so it may be something I don't stress over so much. But it's a possibility that I may be making some changes in the future to this to try to accommodate a little more protection there. Double doors and stuff. One of the things when I was creating this, part of the reason I put them on a motion sensor is because when I was going in the concept and going in and out, having to click once, twice to get in, once, twice to close the doors completely behind myself, it was just a little bit much. So I went ahead and added a motion sensor, rigged it all up there, so it would respond as I approached, sealing it all. Oh, that's right, these are things that are noisy. You probably might not have been able to hear me. I really don't want to re-record this video. Hopefully you heard some of what I was saying. If not, well, at least you would have been able to see some of what was going on here. But this thing here, yes, those are vents around the thrusters. If you can see there, it is 2 vents, 2 of those armored vents deep there. So the idea being that you would have to blast through both layers and stuff. However, in the back, it is only 1 layer stuff. Ideally, the back end is not the part that should be taking the heavy beating. Yeah, I figured it was the front end of this vessel. Unlike some of my other blueprints, where I might have intention for them to have extra turrets and then just not include them, the Thunder Naiad, the blueprint on the workshop, has all the intended turrets for this. Although I may, now that the radar is a effective device, I may want to just stick a radar right back there. I'm not sure. We'll see. But the Thunder Naiad, that is my biggest and heaviest tank in the game. And the Naiad here, if you look there, that space is sufficient for a artillery turret. It just won't have it to keep the unlock level and the material cost down of this vessel, so that it can be spawned in a lot sooner for use on a more traditional attack on a point of interest. and stuff. And as I said, the Dragonfly Industries also has this for a non-traditional attack, the Thorax. Well, there is the hover vessels of Dragonfly Industries. Hope you enjoy.